I went with a Harbor Freight 760, 22 horsepower. I have some Performance 760 mods on here from Performance Machine and Design. I did the upgraded carburetor and airflow.
Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Golf Karting TV. My name is Matt, and I'm thrilled to have you back here today. Today we have an awesome cart. I've never seen something like this before. By Terra Toys is the name of the brand. It's like a modified EZGO TXT, but with all kinds of crazy stuff on it. So let's go ahead and jump in with Joe out in Arizona and take a look at this crazy cart. Awesome. Well, today we have Joe Morford from Gilbert, Arizona. Joe, thanks for joining us today. Tell me just a real quick background about yourself and the cart, and then we'll jump into this and get a little bit more details.
Sounds good, Matt. Thanks for having me out here. It's an honor to be on the show and hopefully be considered for the magazine one day. But just your average cart builder, obsessed with golf carts, probably because they're a little bit cheaper than having to build a whole car. But
Right, right.
just obsessed with golf carts. Moved out to Arizona about 10 years ago, and out here they're street legal, so gives us a little bit more flexibility in the fun that we get to have with them. I'm an avid golfer, so love to just customize my carts and cruise around to the local golf courses. It's a 1996 EZGO Terra Toys cart. Not sure if you're familiar with Terra Toys, but back before the side by sides were a big thing, this company was kind of making these miniature side by sides, so to speak. And so this is where that body kind of came from. This is their design. You can tell a Terra Toys. Two reasons. One, most of their roll bars have that support member up there in the top. And then obviously you have your Terra Toys insignias on the rear view, and obviously the name badge as well. So anytime they're an Arizona company, they're out in Tucson, and
Okay.
anytime I can find one that has these type of to structure to start with, I snag them up because they're just, I mean, they're basically a side by side shrunken down. So it's really cool
Yeah,
car.
very cool. So tell me, like, what was I know you shared a little bit when you submitted the cart. You told me a little bit about that Terra Toys background and then whose cart this actually belonged to. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so after, it was kind of funny. I'd really just got done building one of my own EasyGoes that I thought I'd again keep forever, like we all think with these carts. And I found this pop up actually in Southern California. I live in Gilbert, Arizona. I found it pop up in Southern California, and I asked the dude, "Hey, would you trade me for my fully built cart for the shell of what this was at the time?" And I'm sure he thought I was crazy, but I ended up, and the reason being was because of really the bed on the back. I just thought it was super unique. I thought it looked a little bit different than any
Oh
other
yeah.
golf cart bed that I've seen. And when I ended up picking it up, I saw the insignias, the Terra Toys. This was really my first intro to what a Terra Toys cart was, and I started doing some digging on the forums, the Buggy Gone Wild, the Golf Cart Magazine forums, all of that. And I ended up seeing that this gentleman named Arturo, built these carts out in Tucson, Arizona, which is kind of cool because obviously I live in Arizona as well. And then my title also said Arturo and his last name
Hmm.
as well on there. So I knew it was his cart, obviously because it was registered under his name. Now, again, was it his daily? Who knows? But some of
Right.
the things, like it has a VW steering box in here, kind of hard to see in there, but instead of the stock Easy Go that everyone kind of integrates with, it has a VW steering knuckle in there and everything. So
Cool.
I think he just did some custom touches, for his liking, because they are a little bit different than what the territories that you see out there today.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, let's start at the front and tell me a little bit about what you have going on there. Obviously, some massive suspension and stuff going on. So let's start there.
Yeah, so you got full A-arm suspension up front. This is a custom kit that was made. They made all these kits in-house. I think they took a lot of stuff from snowmobiles. There's a lot of like Arctic Cat parts on here, which is kind of funny. And so I think again a lot of custom, unique stuff. We had to find a special manufacturer just for the hind joints because it didn't exist in any magazine or parts catalog that we could find.
Huh. Wow.
Um, and it's an MP front end. So these are the front ends that they used to put in the Baja Bugs. Hence why the steering knuckle works there, and that's what a lot of people use. A lot of people can use these MP front ends with the Jakes suspensions and other kits. But it's an MP original Baja Bug front end, so it's a little bit more stout. The shocks are off a Kawasaki Teryx, so a side by side, a little bit more robust than you would need. Just some Fox coilovers all the way around, and then you do
Nice.
have disc brakes up front as well. But those are off of a oddly enough a Raptor 700 quad.
Really?
So
It's
yeah.
like a Frankenstein type of a mobile here.
Correct. So you could imagine when I was starting to pull things apart, and I was like, okay, well, where am I going to find this part, or what does this do?
Yeah.
So, actually, had to do some custom 3D printing at my uncle's shop in California, just to assemble some of this stuff because we couldn't even find bushings that matched. So we were
Wow.
machining bushings and 3D printing stuff. So it's definitely a labor of love for sure.
Yeah, very cool. But it's still an EZGO body. It looks like a TXT body
100%
generally.
still, yeah,
Yeah.
still an EZGO body, EZGO frame. It's from an there's some parts from an RVX, again, because it's a little bit of a Frankenstein, right? But yeah, most of it's all original 96 TXT subframe and everything.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And show me, I know you talked about or touched on the roll bar originally. So that's the Terra Toys thing. That's kind of part of their deal.
Yeah, so they do a full integrated roll bar. Again, like I said, a lot of it, what you can tell is with this cross member. So if you see a cross member like that on the roll bars, it more than likely it has some Terra Toys love in it. I can't obviously say it's a full Terra Toys build, but then obviously, you can see like the custom that they did up front for the steering box because it's a different steering alignment than would have came with the EZGO. And then obviously rolling into the bed, which I honestly thought was the coolest part of the whole entire cart because you don't have that big bulky bed on like a workhorse, but you do get this kind of just utility space that you can kind of just throw some stuff in the back. Like I said, I'm a big avid golfer, so being able to jump into the golf course, throw some clubs back there is obviously a benefit for me.
Right. Very cool. And tell me, just keep walking around. Tell me a little bit about what's running this thing and what are the seats, if you know the details on the seats and everything like that. What do we
Yeah,
got coming in?
yeah, absolutely. So, extreme mats, custom mat there. These are the mods FS1 custom seats with headrest as well. I originally got the some patterned seats, but I really wanted to keep it more original to what you would see in like an upgraded golf cart in the time. I didn't want to go too crazy with two new modern touches in it. So these are just mods, customs, then obviously adding the headrest, custom Grant racing steering wheel up top, and then all the way down into kicker and clarion sound system. Yeah, so did a full V twin conversion. As you can see, I kept an EZGO electric battery tray in here with some modifications. Did some cutouts for some airflow. You can see the
Nice.
kicker hideaway subwoofer over there. Just really, my biggest thing was the biggest thing I hate about golf carts is there's never any bass. It's just always
Yeah.
speaker. It's always speakers for the most part,
Yep.
right? And so wanted to make sure I had a little bit of sound there. And then I'll pick up this tray here real quick. I went with a performance, or excuse me, just a Harbor Freight 760, 22 horsepower. I have some performance 760 mods on here from Performance Machine and Design. I did the upgraded carburetor and airflow. There's a custom oil catch can because these dang things run so dirty. So I didn't want to,
Mm.
I really want to keep it as the longevity as long as I could.
Yeah.
And whatnot. It's got dual batteries, as you can see here, ran in series just for a little extra love with onboard trickle charger. So it's always kind of plugged in right here. Just always making sure we have enough juice to get wherever we need. But yeah, no, nice little 22. This thing actually gets up with the high speed gears in the back. We can go 45 with this cart. So
Nice.
it was one of those. I live around a lot of golf courses, but the streets around me are big busy streets, and the rules in Arizona are as long as you can drive as fast as the posted speed limit, then you're good to go. So that's what we kind of designed
Really?
it to be able to
Ah, that's
do. Yeah.
got it. Yeah, for sure. That's very good.
Hence the extra suspension as well too, just to kind of
Right.
handle the power. Custom fuel tank, all powder coated to match. So roll bars powder coated. It's not painted. The only thing that's painted is the body. Everything else is
Okay.
either powder coated or better, which is really kind of my goal to keep everything nice and clean in here.
Yeah. And that tray that you pulled out, that's like a custom built kind of tray cover that you had over the
Yeah,
top of that?
So the tray is from what they do is they put these in the electric carts, the electric EZGO TXTs, because you don't need the airflow. And so what I
Got it.
did is I just made so the where you see the cutouts where you can see the engine
Oh, I
right
see.
there.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. So I cut those out just to keep that airflow going. Unfortunately, I live in Arizona, so this car can only really be driven, a couple months out of the year. I mean, it can be driven
In
all
the
year round, but
manageable, yeah,
yeah, but
manageable weather.
it's still an air cooled cart, right? So
Right.
115 is pushing it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But just wanted a really clean. I'm a big Dave Kindig fan, and I really wanted to build the, so to speak, jewelry box of the engine compartment, and I kind
Yeah.
of just thought this was a nice touch when you lift the lid. It's like, oh wow, that's okay, that's pretty clean. So
Right. Nice and clean. Yeah. It's not just a big ugly motor down sitting in there.
yeah, and with the extra power, that's really the benefit of. I'll get into the delete of the rear leaf spring, right? So that's part of Terra Toys, key suspension is they delete this rear leaf and go with a solid, almost axle, if you will, and then allows you for the coilovers in the rear, right? So
Nice.
you get rid of all of that engine chatter for the people who are trying to get that bigger engine in there. I know Vegas Karts does a really, really good job with their cradle. But doing something like this just really ties the rear end together, and it just makes it super, super stout in totality.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so you can see how we integrated it here. Again, it's just some eyelets, but some very easy U bolts straight into the front, around the axle there.
Right.
But it just ties everything in. It's just super solid, no chatter. Which is I just hated the chatter. Any 24 horsepower I had is you always were just shaking the rear ends. It felt like, so
Yeah.
and like I said, everything was touched on this. There's every nut and bolt is brand new. Everything got a fresh coat of paint if it didn't have it on there already, and I just really tried to bring this guy back to life.
Yeah. Very well done. And then tell me a little about the wheels and tires that you're running.
Yeah, so went with again, like I said, I do a lot of golfing. So not that they let me on the golf course with this, but
Yeah.
these are the quad wheels and tires that actually came with it. So you can see
Okay.
these are actually off of the Raptor. So it's just a standard quad front and rear end tire. It's just a little 10 inch, and I'm running 22 by 10s on there.
Okay.
I could have gone a little bit bigger, but I wanted to keep the tire aggression just super low so that when I was on the golf courses or if I was jetting around there, they didn't have a reason to kick me off and say, hey, those tires are going to tear it up or whatever. So
Right.
I want to keep it as mild as possible.
Yeah. Very cool. So a couple of the pictures you have, you're actually towing another golf cart on the back end of it. So obviously it's got the power and capability, but so you've got a hitch on the back, and then uh,
Yeah.
that's just pure utility kind of stuff.
Pure utility. Yeah. Hopefully, if the cart makes the magazine, you guys will be able to see some towing photos of it. But it's cool because basically I had this whole rescue theme. I'm a Ford guy, so unfortunately, I can't afford a brand new Bronco Raptor. So I said, hey, let me kind of build my scaled down version of it, so to
Yeah.
speak. So the colors are, the color is an Area 51. That's Ford's color for their Bronco. Like I said, powder coated to match on the roll bar. And I just really wanted to have something that would look cool and kind of be that like rescue vehicle, so to speak. So we set up
Right.
that little scene towing another golf cart, and almost like it was running out of juice. But
Right.
oddly enough, it towed it just fine, and was a little bit easier to maneuver than a big truck in that big area. So it's actually pretty
Yeah.
funny.
That's cool. And then, so is the suspension that orange? Is that a standard Terra Toys thing because they're kind of their brand, or is that something you did on your own?
No, yeah, so that's part of the Terra Toys. Not all of them have it. A lot of them just start with like kind of the front end. And then they do this rear end integrated piece, which again, I think that's the best part of what they
Yeah.
build. Because it just like I said, tying in the underneath of the golf cart just straight into the rear end. And then again, adding for some more suspension. Not that you need this much travel on a golf cart, it seems a little
Yeah.
absurd, but it is nice to be able to then have shock options because I feel like you are so limited in this world today. There's only so many different things you can put on these guys, but by doing this, you kind of just open it up to anything you can think of.
Yeah, yeah, cool. And then, like you said, you kind of put with the orange cooler and all that, it just all kind of the whole flow goes together, which is nice.
Yeah, I try to be as thoughtful as possible. The cooler was a gift from my nephew because he just thought it would tie in perfectly, which obviously it
Yeah.
does. But I just I wanted everything to kind of draw you into the next thing, right? Like I wanted you to see the stereo, and then you got deep in the stereo, but then you noticed the switches, and then the carbon fiber plate behind it, right? Like and then again you pulled back and the speakers brought you in, and then you saw that there was custom lighting and inside the cubby holes and then inside every cup holder, and then it brought you into the custom shifter that was added, right? So I just wanted everything to kind of just pull you into the next thing, um, and never, that you could look at it and be like, I didn't notice that before, or I didn't see that before, when I was first looking at it was kind of my
Yeah,
goal, you know.
you did a fantastic job. I mean, that's exactly what it does because as you have walked around, I'm kind of seeing new things, each time you get it at a different angle, which is very cool.
100%. And we moved a lot of the EZGO badging, so we wanted to kind of do a little nod to them. We threw something down there just so that when people see it, they truly do think it's like a side by side, right? When at
Yeah,
first impression. So when you see one next to each other, or like you saw in that image of it towing, it really puts it in perspective that nope, that's still a golf cart, So
yeah,
wanted to keep all the custom touches that they did. Like I said, this is a rear third brake light off of an Arctic Cat snowmobile, right? So wanted to just really kind of keep the cool things that they had done. I ended up finding a new old stock of that, then obviously tinted the lens.
nice,
Just to give it that blended in with the kind of the black theme that we were going with. Every single wire connector is a Molex, like you see here, so you
mm,
can just quickly disconnect anything. All the wires is insulated. It's like this is a 3 wire, so we ran a 3 wire insulated in there with a Molex connector. So if you wanted to change something, right, just like the headlights up here, all with a quick little Molex connector, you can just
nice.
unplug it, change out the lights, do a different color if you wanted to. I just really wanted to make it easy and accessible to, either keep updating or just keeping things working well.
Awesome, Joe. Well, you have done a fantastic job. I really appreciate you letting us into your garage there and into your life and story. It's really cool. Totally blown away with everything you've done. Very, very nice job.
Appreciate that. We worked hard on it, and just to even catch your guys' eye is a feather in our cap. So we appreciate the time and you guys spending it with us and letting us show you what we worked on.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming out today and spending the time with us.
Yep. Have a great day. Thanks, man.
Well, I said it in the video, but one of my favorite things about that card, I think, was just that whole color scheme and the simplicity and the flow of kind of how all that went together. I love that kind of bluish color that he mentioned, and then the simple blacks, and then that pop of orange. Way, way cool. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Please like, subscribe, share, do all those great things, and hope to have you back here again next Wednesday at noon. We'll be here. We'll see you then.